Hello, welcome to this episode of Ground Pass. I'm Anastasia, and we also have not Anastasia here as well.
Hello.
I don't know how long you're going to keep this name tag on,
Oh,
but
forever.
forever it is then. Well, welcome, Nick. What a week of tennis we've had. It's been very busy for numerous reasons. We've got the Billie Jean King Cup happening, Cup Finals happening, and also some other matches. I think there's sort of elimination, like ties. Someone messaged Ground Pass on Instagram asking where they could watch the Beatrice Haddad Meyer tie. And I
Oh,
had to be
wow.
like, oh, right, she is playing. So I had to like look up and help them out
Yeah,
to
you can
see how
watch it
they
on the
could.
Billie Jean King Cup website, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I pointed them in the right direction. But ATP Finals is happening. And I also went to a challenger. So we're going to talk about all of this in this little brief episode of Ground Pass, catching up on the week of tennis.
As brief as we can make it, let's be honest, it's the two of us. So,
Exactly. Have you watched a lot of tennis this week?
more the tennis that I've watched since the US Open. Like, I
Mm.
was thinking, good grief, this feels like a slam with the amount I've got going on. I have actually dual screened Billie Jean King Cup and ATP Finals at points. Um,
Wow.
that was my Friday, I think, because there was like so much happening. It was like, do you know what? I want to see how Zverev Alcaraz goes. I want to see the Swiatek match, and I went, oh wait, I have to work. Nobody needs to know.
Nobody needs to know.
To be honest, actually, I don't think I paid much attention to either match because I did actually have to do my job. But
Yeah.
and like yesterday was I had Fritz and Zverev on one screen, and what were they at the same time as? I think it wasn't Poland because that went on really, really late. It was the one before. Was it Japan against Italy? It
Oh,
was Japan Italy. Yes,
yes, it was
doubles.
Japan, Italy. I was watching that too, different time zones and stuff, but I had that on a screen somewhere. But yeah, so Billie Jean King Cup, let's start there because we didn't really talk about it the last episode, but the Billie Jean King Cup finals is happening in Malaga. It is actually, this is the first time that it's happening in the same location as the Davis Cup finals, which I think is great. Like they're happening back to back. So this week we have Billie Jean King Cup finals and then Davis Cup starts next week, and they're in the same sort of property, not the same building. I learned, but it's like next door. They built like a temporary stadium next to the Davis Cup stadium in Malaga. So I mean, watching it, it's been great. I love Billie Jean King Cup and Davis Cup. I love the vibes. I love the energy that team fans bring. We might have a clip from someone who attended the Billie Jean King Cup, and if we do, I will insert it right here. Or if not, maybe I'll put it in a future episode for sure. But it's interesting hearing from fans directly how it is on the grounds, what tickets are like, all that stuff. So I hope we can get that clip and I'll put it in right here.
Giving my observations on the Billie Jean King Cup finals that are taking place in Malaga. I'm just back from 3 days. I was there for Thursday for the second match, Friday and Saturday. First of all, first impressions. You arrive at the stadium, and it's a huge stadium with a Gracias Rafa sign, massive place, another great big stadium next door. And then round the corner, down the road, in the car park, there's a tent, and that's where the Billie Jean King Cup finals are. Okay, that's a slight exaggeration. It's a temporary stadium, and actually, it's smallish, I don't know, what is it, 3,000, 4,000? But because it's quite a small stadium, it's quite intimate. And no matter where you sit, you got a great view. I've sat in the top of centre court at Wimbledon and, I might as well have been watching on telly. It's so far away. So you're really close and intimate. You can hear the squeak of the players' feet and everything. And also it made for a really good atmosphere when there was a good crowd in. And a lot of the ties, had brilliant atmospheres. the organisation of the tournament itself was a bit mixed, real weird. The ticketing worked really well, but then you get to the stadium and they don't seem to believe in marking any numbers on the seats. There's like a little teeny label with like Arial size 10 font with a number. The numbers seem to go in twos, so you couldn't find your seat. There was no row numbers, so it was a bit chaotic, to be honest, to try and find the right place to sit. I actually sat in the wrong section completely for one of the matches because the people on the door, didn't know either. The site itself, considering all of the rain that they'd had in Malaga, literally the day before, I was checking the weather, wondering, whether I was going to go. They cleared it all up, a little bit of soggy, patches, but they did a great job. I think my biggest negative in some ways is that there weren't more people there. It's a brilliant event. What really stands out is that every single match is like the quarterfinal or a semi-final of a slam. Every match has meaning, which means that there were really good competitive matches, every single one, apart from possibly Katie Bolter taking Lara Ziegerman to the cleaners. All of the rest have been, hard fought. Iga Swiatek, probably one of the players of it so far, but this is not Iga's bakery, not a bagel or breadstick in sight. She had 3 sets to beat Badosa, 3 sets against Noskova, and probably the doubles that she won against the Czechs was the only straight sets win she had. Everybody's having to really, really fight, and I love that. A word about the fans. I had a theory that the fans for the team that were the loudest won. So Slovakia, USA. I don't know what happened to USA. It's a long way to come, I suppose. There was nothing from the USA fans, whereas the Slovakians were chanting and calling, and they were just up for it. The Japanese, I was so pleased for Ina Shibaharu, who I've liked as a doubles player. She got 2 wins in singles. A small group of Japanese fans just were having the greatest time. And I might be biased, but the Brits, the GB Germany tie, it was I was in Britain. There were so many British. I was sat right in the middle of all Brits. Brilliant enthusiasm. I did miss. I remember when GB played France in England, and they had a band. And do you remember Kazakhstan's band? I love it when you've got bands that really gets it going. That's what I think all of these countries should be taking their own bands. I'm not going to go through all the matches, but I do want to say a quick word about Czech Republic against Poland. My username's KvittyCat. Petra Kvitova is my all-time favourite. I like Barbora Krejcikova as my current favourite player. I love Siniakova. I love Mukova. So I was cheering for the Czechs. So I'm a bit disappointed that my last tie ended up with a defeat for us. I was sat in the middle of a bunch of Polish fans who just seemed to sit with their arms folded most of the time, and didn't appreciate me going, yelling, "Come on, Marie! Come on, Linda! Come on!" But I have to give credit to Iga Swiatek, who really committed fully to her singles, and played brilliantly in the doubles as well. Other people that you've got to shout out: Ina Shibaharu I've mentioned, and Sorribes Tormo and Lynette. Probably the best match as an experience was Sara Sorribes Tormo against Magdalena, almost 4 hours, and it was just gripping. Even though the quality wasn't always great, it was a classic cup tie. Which brings me to my kind of last point. In each tie, the first match has been the most well attended, from my observation, and probably almost the most important. It's the number 2 players. Your number 1s are coming next. But if you win that first match, you only need 1 more point. You lose that first match, you're on a knife edge. So I think that first matches was so important, which is why I'm hopeful Emma Raducanu, 4-love up at the moment. As a number 2 player to have a Grand Slam champion, I think GB, fingers crossed, but this will probably be out of date by the time, you listen to it. So I had a fantastic time. I didn't see anything of Malaga. It's non-stop tennis if you watched all the ties. And that's what I went there for. I went to watch tennis. So I was leaving the hotel at 9:30 in the morning and getting back at 11. I think it was 1:30 in the morning when I got back from Poland and Czech Republic last night. So I didn't see anything of Malaga at all, apart from the hotel and the site. But what great tennis. I just wish more people were there. And I'm not sure what you can do about that because you're in a neutral venue. So, a lot of people are going to see their country. Tennis fans, I tell you what, if you're a fan of WTA tennis, I'd do the Billie Jean King Cup finals again because the matches, not a dud amongst, maybe one dud amongst them. But apart from that, brilliant tennis, really great atmospheres, and I had a fantastic time.
Yeah, we found out about this person, Billie Jean King Cup, because I saw them posting photos on Bluesky.social, which we now have an account on. So if you didn't know that and you're listening to the pod and you want to follow us on some form of social media, follow us on there.
Yes. We started our Blue Sky account and it's really great. I'm already like talking to people there and interacting. So it's a really great platform. So join us over there for sure. But let's get into what's been going on at Billie Jean King Cup. I think Nick, top of the line development. Iga's playing in the finals for Poland.
Yes, Anastasia had a bit of a discussion beforehand because I was very confused when she put in the notes that this is Iga's first time, and I was like, Iga's played Billie Jean King Cup before, but she's not played for Poland when they've made the finals because they made the finals last year, but Iga couldn't easily get from Cancun to Spain in a decent amount of time. That wasn't the problem with Riyadh because, first of all, Riyadh ended several days before Malaga started, and secondly, Iga ended up going out the group stage anyway, so she had a bit of recovery time. So now she is spearheading Poland's efforts to win the thing because obviously she got helped. She and Hubie Hurkacz got them to the United Cup final where they lost to Germany, which Iga wasn't fault. Iga won all their matches, but wasn't.
She did her job.
She did her job. She did her job. Others did not. Anyway, so although she might have lost to doubles, but like singles, she came through. And then obviously she tried to get Olympics. She got an Olympic bronze. So like this is her last chance to win something for her country in 2024 with her country in 2024. And it's fair to say it's like if you're a Polish tennis fan, it's been a bit of a roller coaster because they had their match with their tie with Spain, which started off with Magdalena against Sara Sorribes-Tormo, which went for nearly 4 hours. As is standard for Sara Sorribes-Tormo, but Magdalena got through that and then gave a hilarious post-match interview afterwards, in which she basically
she was like, "I hate playing Sarah.
I hate it so much. She's horrible to play." And then Iga like having to deal with a very motivated Paola Badosa, which was a very good match. And then we end up with yesterday, like they went super late because they started late because the previous tie had gone a long time, and then this one, like they ended up having like 3-set matches that were pretty dramatic, especially Iga against Noskova, which like they've now played 4 times this year, and 3 of those matches went 3 sets. Iga just about getting it over the line, getting the tie even, and then she and Katarzyna kind of blew away Siniakova and Bushkova in the doubles, and like everyone was like, I would like this one could go the way. You got Siniakova is the best doubles player in the world. On the Czech team, like that's going to be real tough. And like Siniakova was just outperformed by Kava. And like I really hope that Katarzyna Kava gets a partner who's going to elevate her in the doubles circuit next year, because honestly, her volley skills, her net skills, her hands, just incredible. A bit of control. Like she was the MVP of that match, and I would love to see her get a good partner and get her up the doubles circuit. But yeah, I think it's interesting to see Iga motivated, fired up, and ready to try and lead Poland to Billie Jean King Cup title, backed up by a very strong team. They're going to have a very interesting match with Italy, I think, tomorrow, though, because they that's going to come down to the opening match, because Iga's going to be favoured against Jasmine Paolini, judging by how the French Open final went. But the doubles, there's no question that Paolini and Irani are one of the best doubles teams in the world right now. And it's a whole different thing to just Siniakova and someone she doesn't usually play with. So really it's going to come down to what happens with the number 2 players, like Cocciaretto against probably either Linette or Freck, depending on which one's fresher. So that could be interesting.
Yeah, it definitely could. And you mentioned Kawa in doubles, and I think this is what I love about Billie Jean King Cup. And, sometimes, yes, you never see these players again, but you do get to discover some real talent that just don't get the opportunity during the main tour to shine. So I hope she does get a doubles partner, because that was the upset, of the tournament, at least for me. I completely thought, Siniakova was going to take that. And I was surprised by the scoreline when I looked it up. Who else been shining? Who has been shining? Rebecca Skramkova of Slovakia. She is a player of the Fortnite alum, and she has had quite the run post US Open. I got to see her play in qualifying at the US Open, and, we've now seen her. She went to Asia. Well, I think she went to North Africa first, then she went to Asia, just winning tournaments and matches like it's no one's business. And here she is leading Team Slovakia to win. I just watched her this morning over my coffee defeat Ayla Tomjanovic of Australia, and now Slovakia into the semifinals of the Billie Jean King Cup. I think it is such an unlikely team to make it to the semifinals, but they have a really strong leader. And I'm going to let you gloat for a little bit, Nick, because this was your pick of player of the fortnight. And I think you picked her during the clay season. So you didn't just pick her like 5 minutes ago. You picked her a while ago.
I mean, look, when I picked her in Rome, it was because she was one of these stories of Rome for her run to the last 16. I think it was the last 16. I don't think she got, and she did amazingly there. And she's had a very good season after that point. She picked up some lower level titles. She won a 250. She got to a couple of other finals in the Asian swing. And she's now top 50. But like when I picked up a player for the fortnight, I was like, this is a great ground pass underdog story. The kind of person that like you would go and watch on a ground pass wherever if you went to a big tournament. And so like she was having that breakthrough run, and I wanted to highlight that. I wasn't thinking she was going to build on it in the way that she has, but fully credit to her. Like, it's great to see that she's unlocking this potential and having these kind of stories on a regular basis. And hey, look, she's been Slovakia's MVP. She beat Taylor Townsend, which really was the result.
She beat
Danielle
Collins.
Yeah,
yes,
Taylor Townsend won her match. Danielle Collins. She beat Danielle Collins, but who would have been the favourite for that match? And that was what turned the tide in Slovakia's favour. That, and also a surprise result in doubles. And then she's gone and done it by crushing Ayla Tomjanovic and sealing Slovakia's place in the semi-finals. So she's knocked out two historical tennis powerhouses. But again, little tennis history nerd moment. Like, if you were watching tennis 50 years ago or 50, 60 years ago, every slam champion was either from the US or from Australia. So there's a lot of history behind those two nations. So it's great to see Slovakia kind of getting there and getting to the semi-finals for the first time since 2002, where they won it. Let's see how they do. Shramkova definitely is doing a great job of spearheading that team, although they will have their work cut out against whoever they play in the semis, because it's going to be either GB or Canada, who are going to play in about an hour's time from when we're recording this. But I guess whilst we're on this story, we've talked a little bit about how that tie went. Do you want to talk about the US team? Or maybe not from the expression you just pulled on your face, Anastasia. I will say this. To be fair, you were kind of screwed because none of your players showed up. Like Danielle showed up, but where's Coco? Where's Jess? Taylor showed up. You could always count on Taylor to show up. But
Taylor did show up and she did win her singles, so she pulled through for Team USA. But we definitely did not have our top players. And here's the thing about Billie Jean King Cup. I don't think the field is so strong. I don't think you can rock up to a tournament like this and just say, "Oh, we're just going to send our B or C players and hopefully they'll get through." Because, like you said, Team USA, Team Australia, they have really strong histories at events like this. And, they're used to getting pretty far. But we just didn't have the squad that we could have had. I don't know why. It might be injury stuff, or, Coco has had such a long season, so it might just be rest and all of that. But yes, we did not make it past our round. Girls did, Taylor really did pull through for the team, which is great. But yes, Team USA is out, but you know who's in? Team GB.
For
the moment, yes. But I just want to bring up Team GB, though, because so all the earlier matches at the Billie Jean King Cup, they went to 3 sets, they went to decider. It was just gritty and down to the wire. And TGB just strolls up and we're winning.
Oh yeah, Team GB, they crushed Germany. Emma Raducanu did make it a little bit hard for herself at points with her match with Helene Niemeyer, but she was by far the better player and she looked fresh. She was so good. You couldn't have told that she has barely played since the US Open. And then Katie Bolter just comes out and just has no problems with Laura Siegemund at all. So, and I think on paper, you have to say in the singles, GB have the strongest 1 and 2 players, 1-2 combination. Maybe Poland a close second in that. But if you think about the fact that both their players are Katie Bolter's top 30, Emma Raducanu has won a Grand Slam.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other team out there with that kind of credential in there. Again, Poland probably the closest with Świątek and Freck, or Paulini and Cocciaretto, but those backup players haven't won a Grand Slam, which Emma Raducanu has. And no one seems to, and Emma Raducanu steps up when it's Billie Jean King Cup. That's where I've seen her play her best tennis over the last couple of years since that sort of US Open run. And so, right now, as a British tennis fan, I'm getting a little bit hyped up about the possibility of them doing really, really well, because I don't know when the last time they made the final of the tournament would have been. I think they came really, really close a couple of years ago and lost to Australia when GB hosted them in Glasgow, the finals in Glasgow. But that would be really, really exciting if they did that. Obviously, Canada's going to be tough because they've got Leila Fernandez in the singles and they've got Gabby Dabrowski in the doubles, who is amazing at doubles. And although Heather Watson and Olivia Nichols are very accomplished doubles players, they don't have the CV that Dabrowski does. So let's see how that goes. I think it's going to be tight. I think it's probably going to come down to how Emma does when she comes out and how Katie deals with Leila. And I think Leila is going to be close. That's going to be fun to watch this afternoon when we're recording it. It'll probably be done by the time this is actually released, and we'll know for sure. But yeah, I'm very optimistic, and there is that part of me that does kind of want a Poland GB final, because I'll be happy with whoever wins.
Exactly. It's win-win for you. But yeah, the results would be out by the time this comes out tomorrow. But follow us on Blue Sky. We're now on Blue Sky, so definitely follow us there, and I'll be posting results of matches that I watch and retweeting or reposting. We have to find new words. Reposting. Re-skeeting? Okay, we'll figure it out. But
reposting. Don't forget, we're also still on Threads. We're not leaving Threads.
Oh, we are not leaving Threads. My friends on Threads, I've got you guys. We're still in it together. Okay, great. So moving on to the ATP Finals, and I don't know, Sinner's in the final.
No
surprise.
And this is one of those times actually where, like, I think we're pretty certain, like, it feels kind of inevitable that Sinner wins. But I don't mind in this case because it's in Italy, it's his home turf, it's going to be a great story. He's going to be winning the biggest tournament held in Italy. No offence to the Italian Open in Rome, which is probably the more traditional big tournament, but obviously ATP Finals is probably a bit of a higher, kind of a higher level. At least I regard it as that. But from what I'm seeing, and something that our mutual friend Mario, who's an Italian journalist on Twitter, has been sharing about just the amazing hype that Sin has been generating for these matches. Like, he's saying things like the viewing figures for his ATP Finals matches are incredible. I'm expecting to see huge numbers of people watching Sinner in the final today against Taylor Fritz. Spoilers. But also, like he said, apparently, like people who he's got family members who suddenly messaged him and said, "Hey, can we come round yours and watch Sinner?" Like out of nowhere, like these people have never expressed interest in tennis before, but they want to watch Sinner play. So I think it's going to be great for Yannick if he wins his home tournament. It's going to mean a lot to him. But I'm getting the sense that like this is going to be great for growing the sport in that country. And so it might. You might, like, as neutral tennis fans, we might come out there and go, well, that feels like a foregone conclusion. But I think there's that feel-good element to it that kind of takes the edge off. Having said that, like, I could sound like a complete idiot, and Taylor Fritz ends up turning the tables and wins the ATP Finals, breaks Italian hearts, somehow cracks the Sinner rivalry, and suddenly we're talking about him pulling off one of the biggest upsets of the year. He's already, let's face it, he's cracked the Zverev rivalry pretty convincingly. Well, not convincingly, he's super close, but he seems to have an edge at the minute. Fritz, Fritz is now a top 4 player, which, when was the last time an American player in the top 4?
It's been really great, like, seeing Fritz do this, because I think we talked about it a little bit on our last episode, but he just doesn't get the news headlines, he doesn't get the, accolades or the sort of chatter. I think definitely with him getting to the US Open Finals, he definitely got into more of the conversation. But when you think American tennis player, everyone goes Ben Shelton, Francis Tiafoe, Tommy Paul next, and then Taylor Fritz. You know what I mean? So for him to just sort of stick with it, keep his head down, keep working on his tennis, and just put result after result after result this year has been incredible. He's the first American to make it to the ATP Finals since 2006, James Blake. Like, he is breaking all these records and doing it quite quietly and chill. And for me, he will always be Ken. And even though he's gotten rid of the blonde hair, but yeah, I think it's great. And, more surprising things have happened. It's tough. It's really, really tough to say that Sinner is not going to take this title because he's just looked unstoppable. But I just don't want to count Taylor Fritz out. And I just think he's had a great season, and I hope more people discover him and get to watch his tennis and, kind of start appreciating him as what he is, which is the top American tennis player on the men's side.
Pretty convincingly as well, let's be honest. He's way more consistent than the others and making the most of things. And let's face it, okay, he may not have cracked Sinner or Alcaraz yet, but he's definitely cracked everyone else around him. I don't know if he's beaten Medvedev this year, but it wouldn't be a surprise if he did. But he's definitely, obviously, he's now beaten Zverev 4 times in a row. And in really, really exciting close matches as well. Like, that semi-final they played literally could have gone either way.
Yeah. Well, that's the ATP Finals. Again, the match is going to happen in about a couple of hours, just under a couple of hours US time. So we'll give you the results on our social media, and we will talk about it. Maybe, I mean, who knows? If Taylor Fritz wins, we're going to talk about it in the next episode. Okay.
We'll be recording it tomorrow.
Exactly. We'll just be like, emergency podcast. um, just a quick note on the doubles, because I didn't do a doubles video and I'm really sad, but I will let you know in a second why. I was just a little busy. But friends of the podcast, Harry Heliovara and Henry Patton won their group. They lost in the semis, but they won their group, and they did it in a, I mean, I did not expect that. They crushed. They just like won all their matches in the group stage in the round robin, and I thought that was super impressive. You know, there's a lot of discussion now. Like, this is the period where I think a lot of doubles teams are like switching and figuring out what they're doing next year and whatever. I think Henry and Harry, like, they did pretty well all throughout the season, but I think their breakthrough was, you know, Wimbledon, and then they just like played such great tennis afterwards. I would love to see them a full year as a doubles team and how well they could do. So congrats to them. And that is the ATP Finals. And I'm going to jump into this now, Nick, as to why I've been so busy and running around like a crazy person. I got to go to my first challenger ever, which was a lot of fun. I went to Champaign, Illinois, to go to the Champaign Challenger. It's a 75 level event, and I went there because, you know, we did an episode a while ago about the different levels of tournaments. You know, we talked challengers, 250s, 500s, you know, 1,000 level, and also the Grand Slams. And I thought it would be nice to bring people more of a fuller picture of each level. So I decided to go to a challenger, figure it out, see what it's all about. So stay tuned. You're going to get a little special bonus kind of series coming soon, probably in the off season when nothing's happening and you still crave some tennis. So we'll be sharing that soon. But it was great. I'd never been. They're very small events. Tickets are dirt cheap, you know, but I still got to see some phenomenal tennis. Chris Eubanks was actually at this challenger, so got to see him there. Nice. And the kid who is now going to get the US Australian wild card, Nashish Basavareddy, 19 years old, is at the tournament, and he's going to play the finals today. I mean, it would have happened by the time, you know, you guys are all listening to this, but it was really nice to see this sort of young talent coming up. And so I got to interview all the players who were in the semifinals, which was great. But I also got to talk to a certain person. And if you're listening to this and you guess who it is, you can send us a message on social media or email us with the answer, and we'll let you know the next episode who it is if you got it right. And maybe there'll be a prize. I don't know if there'll be a prize, but maybe there'll be a prize. And I'll have to work out what the prize is. But here's your clue. Got to interview someone who is a 6-time Grand Slam champion, 2-time tour level final champion, and a 2-time silver medal, Olympic medalist. So that's your group. Think about who that could be and who, you know, send us the answer and stuff. But here's the thing. And here's the thing about challengers, and what I'm going to leave you with for right now. Go to challengers. First of all, you get to know the players. You can sort of do the whole bragging rights thing where you're like, I got to see them first at my hometown challenger. You know, you could do that. But you also get to see great players who are just hanging around. Like, the person I got to talk to was just there attending the challenger. And I thought, wow, this is crazy. That person's just here attending the challenger. So it's really you know, I think it's a great opportunity to watch some great tennis for really cheap and, you know, get to see some players without the pressure of thousands of people and, like, you know, scrambling for autographs and things like that. So I encourage it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I haven't been to a challenger, but there's actually challengers in the UK that I've wanted to go to for a while, and it's just never fallen the date that I can make it.
Yeah.
But rest assured, like, if I can get tickets, I could do it. I mean, like, there's one in Ilkley, which is like, I just love I really want to go there because it's like in this really quaint English town in the middle of nowhere. I just love the idea of playing a big tennis event there. But also, there's one about an hour away from me in Shrewsbury, which it's an ITF W100, and I know someone who always volunteers there every year. I've wanted to go there for a while as well, because more as a British fan, because you can see some up and coming British players there. And like this year, Sunai Katal beat Heather Watson in the final, which is a big final if you're a British fan. So yeah, it's on my list here, and I think if you want to hear a bit more, we've got loads of friends who go to challenges regularly who we can go and talk about.
Yeah, totally. Okay, let's wrap things up here. We told you this would be a quick one, and we did not lie. So what is coming up next? We, of course, have the Davis Cup, which is going to be a big, big, big one this year because Rafa Nadal is retiring at the Davis Cup.
Yeah, that's going to be big. That's going to... Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be watching all the matches. I will probably not get as emotional as Anastasia or other people I know, but it is going to be a massive deal because, Rafa Nadal was there when I first really got into tennis. It's going to be very weird when he's not around. And I hope that he does well, and I hope he kind of wins big with this one. I think he's going to be part of a really big name Spain team that is going to have a lot of backing, especially since he's going to have Carlos Alcaraz with him as well.
Right. So that will be November 19th to the 24th. And then November 18th to the 24th, there's actually going to be a WTA 125, which is the WTA version of a challenger, which is on the ATP side. So WTA 125 in Charleston, North Carolina. So if you're in the area, it's definitely one I think you should go to. I think it's on clay, so I believe it's also at the location where the Charleston 500 happens, which Danielle Collins won this past year. So it should be a great location. It's a venue that I've always wanted to visit, and I hope I can get there next year. So go to that one if you can. And if you can't go, but you want to watch it, you can watch it on WTA Unlocked. I'm going to leave the link in our description of this episode because just like ATP has Challenger TV where you can get to watch all of these matches for free, the WTA now has a platform called WTA Unlocked where you can watch all of their Challenger level events for free. So definitely no cost to you, and you're watching some great tennis and you get to, learn about some awesome players.
Yeah, that's definitely the benefit of it. And I think it's going to be much a learning experience for anyone watching that event because I think there's only two names that I really see have recognition taking part. They are Renata Zarazua and Alicia Parks. But everyone else, maybe Varvara Lepchenko, everyone else will be about discovering these players, and these 125s, we're going to be having at least one every week up until mid-December, and that's going to be very, very important for qualifying for the Australian Open in the end of January, because that will be on us before we know it.
Yes. Wow. already time to start thinking about the Australian Open. But Nick, this has been great. It's been a nice, quick episode. Hope to see everyone next week where we'll have the results of Billie Jean King Cup, the results of Davis Cup, and what else? And we'll talk about the challengers in the 125, the WTA 125, see how those went. So yeah, talk to you guys soon. Bye, everyone.